Today we're taking a look at the Embassy Suites by Hilton Plainfield Indianapolis Airport, located just a few minutes from Indy International. And if you're familiar with Embassy Suites, you'll immediately notice there's no atrium in the middle of the building. That's because this is one of the newer generation Embassy Suites hotels. It opened in 2019 and follows a more contemporary design than the classic properties. Instead of the traditional atrium, you enter into a large, bright, and very open lobby. There are plenty of different seating areas as well as a bar, and overall I think they did a good job of making this feel modern and welcoming. There are also several outdoor seating areas, which are a nice addition if the weather is good and you don't necessarily want to spend all your time inside the hotel. But let's take a look at the room. I stayed in a suite with 2 queen-size beds and I really liked the layout. As you'd expect from Embassy Suites, you first enter into a separate living area. This one comes with a large corner sofa, which is a nice change from the relatively generic hotel sofas you usually find in rooms like this. The darker wood tones all over the suite give it a slightly more traditional look than the lobby, but I still wouldn't call it outdated. Everything feels relatively modern and more importantly, the room was in good condition. From the living room, a regular door leads into the bedroom, but there's also a large sliding door that takes you directly into the bathroom. And the bathroom then has another large sliding door connecting it with the bedroom. So essentially the 3 main areas of the suite form a kind of loop. And I like this concept. It makes the entire suite feel more open and visually I think those large sliding doors look much more elegant than regular doors. There is, however, one downside. Sliding doors like these generally don't seal particularly well. There is quite a bit of space between the door and the wall, which means they don't provide much sound or smell isolation. Since I was staying here alone, that obviously wasn't an issue at all, but if you're sharing the room with someone else, the bathroom setup might offer a little less privacy than you'd ideally want. The bedroom itself is fairly straightforward, with 2 queen-size beds and enough space to move around comfortably. Another thing I was pleasantly surprised by was how quiet the room was. Considering this hotel is not too far from Indianapolis International Airport and planes regularly fly over the area, I expected at least some aircraft noise. But the building seems to be very well insulated and inside the room it was remarkably quiet. For an airport hotel, that is obviously a pretty important feature. And finally, breakfast. As with most Embassy Suites hotels, breakfast is included. And I'd put this one somewhere in the upper middle of Embassy Suites properties I've stayed at. The selection was good, the quality was good, and there was really nothing to complain about. At the same time, it wasn't one of those breakfasts that stood out in any way. So overall, I think this is a very solid example of the newer Embassy Suites concept. You don't get the spectacular atrium architecture of the older properties, but in return you get a bright and modern lobby, a contemporary suite layout, comfortable common areas, and surprisingly good sound insulation considering the location. I particularly liked the open layout of the suite, although the sliding bathroom doors are something to keep in mind if you're traveling with someone else. In the end, the hotel felt relatively fresh, well-maintained and comfortable. And if I needed a stay near Indy Airport again, this is definitely one I'd return to. Thanks for watching, here are 2 other videos you might be interested in, and if you liked this one, please consider leaving a like or a comment, and I hope to see you in the next one again.